So a second airport there in Denmark closed due to drones in its airspace within a week, as a series of other Danish airports also report drone sightings around and within their perimeters. This time it was Aalborg Airport, used for commercial and military flights, shut down 2 days after the country's main Copenhagen airport was shut over similar sightings. The police saying the sightings followed a very similar pattern after Tuesday's incident, Denmark calling it the most serious attack yet on its critical infrastructure, linking it to a series of suspected Russian drone incursions and other disruptions across Europe. Well, it comes right after yesterday at the UN. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warned Europe that they need to do more now to stop Russia's war in his country. He pointed to airspace violations as the first step in Russia wanting to expand the fighting beyond Ukraine.
Excellencies, you know perfectly well international law doesn't work fully unless you have powerful friends who are truly willing to stand up for it. And even that doesn't work without weapons. It's terrible, but without it, things would be even worse. There are no security guarantees except friends and weapons.
Well, we can cross live then to Kiev, talk to our correspondent Gulliver Cragg, who joins us from there. Gulliver, a very stark warning from Zelensky there, and these further incidents, although there's no confirmation of Russian involvement at this stage, perhaps they were confirming his point.
Well, you know, ever since 2014, when the war in Ukraine started, I've been hearing from Ukrainian soldiers and some people in the expert and pundit community phrases like, you know they're coming for you next. Western Europe will be in Russia's sights. We're the ones, us Ukrainians, defending Western Europe. That kind of rhetoric has been present in Ukraine for more than a decade. When the war was simmering away at a low level in Donbass, it sounded a little bit far-fetched to imagine that Russia could be threatening other countries further to the west. But since 2022, it has become absolutely the standard rhetoric and the standard line that the Ukrainian authorities have been taking, that they need to warn Western allies of Ukraine that Russia will try something on their territory as well. People speculate, would it be the Baltic states? Would it be Poland? Would it be Moldova? Would it be Spitsbergen? There are a lot of different views about what form Russian meddling, interference, aggression might take, how far it would go, but the sense that Russia wants to undermine NATO and reassert itself as a power in this region is really clear. And so, in a sense, the Ukrainians are quite pleased to see that it's happening and that the Europeans are finally taking seriously something that they've been warning about for a long time. So Volodymyr Zelensky, of course, talked about this in his address to the United Nations General Assembly. Something else that he stressed, and I think is very important, is that Russian aggression doesn't only take the form of these kinds of very low level, perhaps not very threatening incursions, but nevertheless worrying. It also comes in the form of meddling in the political processes of European countries. And at the moment where that's happening most intensely is Moldova, which has a parliamentary election on Sunday, this weekend. It's absolutely crucial. Even though it's a tiny state, there's a really strong chance that the pro-Russian forces could win there. And Volodymyr Zelensky and the Moldovan President Maya Sandu also say that this is because of Russian meddling, vote buying, and all sorts of dirty tricks to influence the result of that election.
Gulliver, meanwhile, we've been hearing some more positive news on the battlefield from Ukraine this week. What's the latest that you can tell us there?
Well, Volodymyr Zelensky, of course, was keen to present the positive news to Donald Trump and telling him that Ukraine had liberated 360 square kilometers of territory from under Russian occupation. That's unfortunately not the whole story. The Russians continue to advance and they have taken dozens of square kilometers, if not hundreds, in the same period of time, the last month or so. There seems to be a particular weak point in recent days at the southeastern corner of Dnipropetrovsk region. That's not one of the regions that the Russians claim to have annexed, but they've been taking more territory in that region. So there's two-way traffic on the front line, but it's still probably more in the Russians' favor, though it's going far slower than they would hope. The other thing it's perhaps worth noting is that all of this drone warfare means that the front line doesn't look like a solid line anymore. It's more like a kill zone, 20 to 30 kilometers wide, and there are lots of areas where it's not actually clear who's in charge.